It took a little longer than I thought. 15 minutes, and I still have people here. Hey, that's kind of cool. How's everybody doing? Welcome to this month's live stream. If you have anything you'd like to talk about, pop it in the chat. I guess I have a few things I could talk about. I'd like to make it clear to, I've said this ad nauseum over the years. There are no charges or fees for what I do. Everything that I teach is available for free on this YouTube channel. Over 1,000 videos if you want to watch them. All public. Well, there are memberships and things like that. But that's up to you if you want to donate that type of thing. There's no charge for the free videos. So I just wanted to make that clear. Quadruple A says, I have a question about the Federal Postal Court venue. And depending upon, what that specific question is, will depend upon whether I answer it or not, because a lot of that is predicated upon your knowledge of correct sentence structure, communication, parsing, syntax, grammar, which I have no idea what your level is at this point, but go ahead and ask. I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask. If you want to. One thing you can't really, one thing one cannot really account for, and that one will eventually run up against or encounter, are just completely vile human beings. Human beings that have no honor, no grace. At the lowest level, they will just do anything to hurt you. And these are things that you have to account for. And I find that the best way to navigate through and around those types of vile individuals is just be straightforward. Don't get upset. Don't get emotional. They can't help that they're POSs because that's just the way they were born. Sometimes it's in your own family too. Sometimes the biggest ones are in your own family. And to me, as an individual, as someone who's been on this planet for 53 years, I've found that it doesn't matter to me if you're family or not family. The way that you behave towards me determines the way that I behave towards you. Rule one, rule equal. So keep that in mind. All right. So let's look here. DMW. Who's DMW? Had these federal postal court venues like the IRS case. And he talked about capturing the court by autograph over the stamp. So when a federal postal court venue is set up and one would be the postal judge on the document, doesn't the foreign vessel in dry dock then have to enforce the verdict that has been passed? Because the stamped would indicate that the foreign vessel in dry dock is in contact with the postal court venue. All right, quadruple A, it appears to me, from my perception, there are already a lot of assumptions and presumptions built into your question here. So I'll start at the beginning. So I'm guessing that you mean David-WYNN Miller had these federal postal court venues, like the IRS case. I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're talking about there, what case you mean. Yes, David-WYNN Miller had a federal postal court, but I don't know what it has to do with an IRS case or what that means. And he talked about capturing the court by autograph over the stamp. What stamp are you speaking of? What specific stamp? because if you're getting into foreign vessel and dry dock mechanics, I need to know what you mean by stamp. Do you mean a postage stamp or do you mean a bullet stamp? What stamp are you talking about there? We need to know that. So when a federal postal court venue is set up, and one would be the postal judge on the document, doesn't the foreign vessel and dry dock then have to enforce verdict that has been passed? No, because one doesn't have anything to do with the other. The document is the court, not the foreign vessel and dry dock. Does that make sense? You're talking about two completely different venues. Because the stamp would indicate that the foreign vessel and dry dock is in contract with the postal court venue. No, not necessarily. Again, I don't know what stamp you're talking about. We need to be very specific about what stamp you're talking about here. I mean the bullet stamp with the ink and the paper when the document is filed in. Where would this stamp be located? And what is the purpose of the stamp and what does the stamp convey? I need to know that. I need to specifically know what stamp you're talking about. Otherwise, the answer to the question is not going to be is not going to have any relevance at all. Do you know what it means, quadruple A, to autograph over a stamp? Do you know what that means? Like what that signifies? The stamp is put on the document when the foreign vessel and dry dock docks the paper. Okay. What does the stamp convey? Again, what does it mean? What does it say? What does it read? What are the words in the stamp? I need to know what the stamp is. Is it a clerk stamp? Is it a judge's stamp? What is it? And because you autograph over a stamp, it does not necessarily mean that it makes you an authority of anything. That's just contract. It means you're coming into contract with that and makes you postmaster. But in the case of the clerk stamp, I mean, yeah, you could autograph over it. But if it's your document that you're docking and filing in, you're already the authority of the document. So when they put their stamp on it, I mean, you can autograph over it if you want to, but it doesn't make you more authoritative over the document than before because you already were authority of the document if you authored the document. And that does not give an individual jurisdiction over a court. Just like if you take an envelope and you have a stamp here and you autograph over the stamp and you take it into a post office, that doesn't make you an authority over the post office. You're just the authority of this or the postmaster of that. You see what I'm saying? I don't know where that idea would come from, really. That's not contract by consent. Contract is by consent, and forcing people to do things is bully behavior, vile behavior, fiction behavior. Unless, of course, you're being damaged. If you're being damaged by something, then you can force that trespass to stop in that case, because that's malicious volition on the other contract party's part. I was just wondering how that would turn out in the IRS case with David-WYNN Miller. Why, you'd have to ask David-WYNN Miller. I have no idea. And I'm not familiar with what you're talking about, an IRS case. I'm not familiar with that scenario. So if you're asking me about someone else's case, I really can't speak on that because in correct sentence structure, we would only make claims from ourselves. I certainly would not even think to speak for David-Wynn Miller. That would be wrong. It's like folks ask me, what do you think David meant by this? What do you think David meant by that? I can speculate as to my opinion on that, but anything I say is just going to be an opinion. Doesn't mean it is what it is. Doesn't mean that what I'm saying has any validity with regards to that, because it is only an opinion to take into consideration, a perception, conjecture. Thank you for the question, Quadruple A. While we're talking about the fiction domain, if you want to put in the chat, I'm going to ask a question. It's a very sensitive, very touchy question. Does anybody out there think that males and females possess equal reproductive rights? Now, I'm speaking in terms of the fiction system. Are there equal reproductive rights? Are there equal reproductive rights? And do you think there should be 50-50 equal reproductive rights? Maybe I should put that in a poll. Let's see if I can put that in a poll. Now, again, this is in the fiction. Okay, I started the poll. So go ahead, folks, look at that poll up there. And when I say no men should decide, no women should decide, we're talking about having babies here, folks, and what to do when men and women get the news that there is a pregnancy. Again, this is a very touchy subject. And I see someone put yes, that they think there should be equal reproductive rights. Let's follow this all the way through, okay? If there are to be 50-50 equal rights, then that means that if a man and a woman get together, procreate, and a pregnancy results, if the woman does not want to have the baby, the woman wants to get an abortion, and the man says, no, no, I want the baby. Have the baby. Should the woman be forced to have the baby or not? If the man says that they don't want the baby, They want nothing to do with the baby. And the woman says, I'm going to have the baby. Should the man then be forced to pay child support for the baby? In the same sense that if the woman doesn't want the baby and the man wants the baby, then the woman ought to be forced to have the baby. If the man doesn't want the baby and the woman wants the baby and she has the baby, then the man should be forced to pay child support. What if the woman has the baby and then decides she doesn't want anything to do with the baby, and then the father takes the baby? Should the mother then be forced to pay child support? You see how this fiction system works? It's all about coercion. It's not about what's best for the child. It's not about any of that. So if people say that they want 50-50 equal rights and reproductive, I don't think they've thought the thing the whole way through. Without fail, when I've gotten into conversations with females about this, they will say that, yeah, there should be equal rights. But when it comes down to brass tacks, they don't mean it, because they feel that the woman should have the final say in everything. And they also think that the guy, in every case, should pay child support no matter what. No matter what. And they say, well, if the guy decided to sleep with the girl, then he knew what he was doing. He needs to pay for that. And they put it in such a way that, as if they're saying that the woman didn't have any say in the matter, which is funny to me. So in one way, they're saying I'm just relaying to you conversations I've had with females where it's like they're acting like the situation was a coerced situation with having sex, and that's why the man should have to pay child support. Never does it enter in their mind that the woman could just say no. I don't want to do this because I know you. You're a bad dude. You're not going to take care of this kid. We're going to be in court forever. So I'm just not going to have sex with you. I mean, the woman could say that, but no woman ever thinks that, really, that I've spoken to. They always put the onus of responsibility on the man. It's the man's fault they had sex, and so therefore the man should pay. And I will tell you something from personal experience in the court system. The court system will place, if there's a custody situation, the court system will choose to place the child in the home of a sex offender, of a drug addict, of just very bad people, and then the responsible adult, who you would think the court, if it was actually a fair place, would place the child. They won't get the child, but they'll be the ones paying support, because the court system is designed to go after the responsible one for the money. They know they can't get any money from the drug addict, the never do well, the scumbags. They can't get money from them. So they go after the one that has the money and give the child to the scumbags. That's the way it works. Without fail, it's designed that way. I can think of numerous situations where this has happened, where the child has been placed with pedophiles simply because the other parent was responsible and could pay. And then, of course, the responsible parent pays to file more motions so that they try to get custody of the children to get them out of that situation, thus paying more money into the system, which is exactly what they want. They just want more money. Those men in those black dresses don't care about the well-being of any child at all. in those particular situations. So does anyone else have anything to say about reproductive rights? I know it's a touchy subject and not very many people are going to want to talk about it. Some people don't even like to think about that type of thing. But again, rule one, rule equal. Is there really equality between men and women? In a physical confrontation, if you take a woman who is 5'5" tall and weighs 120 pounds versus a man who's 5'5" tall and weighs 120 pounds, in a physical confrontation, who's going to win? It's a no-brainer. Just the same as if you put man and woman in some sort of cognitive contest. You know, there are certain things that women are much better at than men in certain scenarios. Why do you think there are no female Navy SEALs, no female Army Rangers, no female Green Berets that I know of? Why do you think that is? So in reality, things are very unequal. In the domain of correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar, the communication field is made equal cognitively. So that it doesn't matter if you're male, female, or whatever you are, you can contract there safely with equality. You create that geometric level playing field. Again, to use the analogy of martial arts, it always seems to work out this way. Why do you think they put boxers in a ring, in a square ring? They try to make things level, equal between two fighters. So now the skill levels, you know, everything's equal except for the skill levels. Maybe this guy trained harder than this guy. Maybe this guy has better cardio than this guy. Maybe this guy has a harder hitter than this guy. You know, there are individual characteristics that you find out in the course of battle. But the field is level when you start. Kind of like rule one, rule equal, like Colin Russell-J. Colin Gould said many, many years ago when he gave an example of rule one, rule equal. He said, we all came here the same way. Not, you know, as far as we know, not of our own volition. We all came here naked and kicking and screaming out of the mother's womb. That's rule one, rule equal. We all started off the same. Most of us, anyways. Now someone just said, no, women should decide. And you know what? When it comes down to brass tacks, I'm inclined to agree with that because the woman is the vessel that carries the baby, not the man. So it's ultimately her choice as to what she does. As long as she understands what she's doing. If she decides to abort the baby or not, as long as she understands what that means. It's her body. It's her vessel. She's the captain of the ship. So I agree that the ultimate decision would be hers. It's only fair. If the man, like I said at the beginning, if the man wants the baby and the woman doesn't, and then the woman decides to abort the baby, She should not be forced to have that baby. Just the same as if she decides to have the baby and she knows the man doesn't want anything to do with the baby or the woman, just the same, she should not try to force him to pay money for that baby for 18 years. In the same sense, if she knows he doesn't want anything to do with the baby, but yet she has the baby anyways, because it was just as much her decision to have sex as it was his. Do you see? And a lot of women, don't get mad at me, but a lot of women that I've discussed this with seem to think that it's the man's fault they had sex. Well, he didn't have to have sex with her. Well, she didn't have to have sex with him. What are you talking about? Woman would decide because if you love the woman, you support whatever she decides. What if you don't love the woman, Jason? You're kind of assuming that there's love involved here. What if there's not? What if it's just a one night stand out at the pub and you don't even know the woman's name and the woman doesn't know your name? What about then? Thank you, Lily Santelli, for your kind comments. I appreciate your viewership. Like that was a crazy instance back when the last election was occurring. All of these Democrats and liberals were getting so up in arms about Donald Trump and his stance on, you know, the whole abortion thing. I remember even family members that were just going out of their mind because Donald Trump was talking about taking away their daughter's rights to have an abortion. How how that blows my mind. Like that's what you're going to choose to get upset about? That in the future if your daughter gets pregnant, she's going to forfeit the right to kill the baby? That's what you're upset about? I mean, people are going out of their minds about that. It's crazy how society has uh, developed. To me, anyways, from my position, it's amazing. Really is how close-minded people are and how callous people can be. And again, like I said at the beginning, there are vile, vile people out there that will do anything to wreck your life, take what you have just because they're jealous or whatever. They're jealous, they're hateful, they're spiteful. And it all in the fiction system, if you want to know if something's fiction or not fiction, it all usually comes down to money for these types of people. Always. I would still go with the woman's choice for my mistake. What mistake do you mean, buddy? What mistake? How can it be a mistake to have sex with somebody? If you chose to do it, like, how is that a mistake? Like, you can go out and say, like right now, I'm looking at your username, and I say, "Hey, Jake, how you doing?" Oh, my mistake. Your name's Jason. That's like you have sex with a woman. You say, "Oh, sorry, my mistake. My bad. Didn't mean to do that." I don't think it's the same thing, man. I really don't. I would like equal rights for both, but I tend to agree with the woman has the final say because indeed she is the vessel that carries the baby. Yes, yes, I agree. 100%. No one ought to be able to tell you what to do with your vessel or your biosphere, your energy, your money, your value, whatever it is, your quality. No one. And if someone's trying to do that, then that means that they are fiction, most likely a vile type of individual. Vile. Let me tell you something, they're growing them a lot younger these days. Some folks are just damaged out the gate. Not much to be done about it. And don't get me started about I'm not even going to bring that whole Middle Eastern conflict thing into this, but there are certain folks out there, as Peter Griffin would say, really grind my gears when it comes to talking about thank you to God or whomever for answering my prayers. God always puts us where we need to be, so on and so forth. Bullshit like this. If God always puts you where you need to be, what about those children in the Middle East that are starving, that are getting killed, kidnapped, tortured, beaten? Did God put them where they need to be? And then, of course, the apologists will say, well, that's not God, that's man. You can't have it both ways. When the good things happen, you attribute it to God. When the bad things happen, you attribute it to man. How convenient. Apologists, vile pieces of crap, if that's the type of individual you are and that's how you think. And yes, I'm name calling. All right, folks. I think that about does it for this live stream. I appreciate you participating with it. Quadruple A, Jason XR4, Lily Centelli. Who else? I see there's more people here, but only those folks commented, and I appreciate them commenting. How many people are watching? Trying to see. 1 minute, please. Before we go, I will do this. There we go. All right, Bill Hermosa got one. Good one, good one. Who's this? Who's Stefan? I hope that's not that Stephen Temple guy. Oh, that guy. Well, if it is that Stephen Temple guy, congratulations, buddy. You got a membership to the channel. Ugh. All right, thank you, everybody. Those of you who got gifted, enjoy your gift. I hope you do. Hope you make use of it. And hope to see you soon.